doing, in particularly in Germany, these kind of think tanks and this going out to the new people and bringing them in, embracing them?
Not really. I mean, I've been to several conferences. I've not seen such a thing so far. So it's quite unique, I could say. And this was actually like an initiative of our CEO who started this 4 years back.
So really Matrix Reloaded. Very good.
Exactly.
Very good. I can only advise everybody to take a look at the, at the website. It's really inspiring, and I learned a lot of new approaches. I would like to go back to Kimberly and to move a little bit more deeper into the industry. How do auto manufacturers and their supply chain balance the demands of electrification? Now we're moving strongly more and more into the e-car segment. How do they meet that demand with a large factory footprint for petrol and diesel cars? Manufacturers in Europe, we would think that they would face a real challenge. How is that moving along, the electrification issue?
Testing, here we go. To be honest, it depends. Different companies approach it in a different way. Most companies are employing a strategy of maintain your current revenue stream for maybe 70% of what you need in terms of resources, and then applying something like a 70-20-10 rule. So 70% on main revenue stream, 20% moving into key new functionality, and 10% on innovation. Some shift that around a little bit more. But in most cases, they have to refit to be able to work for electrification cars. So when you think of a company like JLR, one of the things that they've stated very publicly is they are refitting one of their old factories to be reused for electrification of vehicles. That absolutely comes with an overhead and CapEx, OpEx costs, of course. But when you look at what it would cost to build a manufacturing plant from scratch, to them it makes more sense to do it. The other thing is, while most companies are going forward, in fact in the UK we also have some that are going in the opposite direction. So take a company like Dyson. You may not have seen, but in the press about 2 weeks ago, Dyson actually publicly stepped back from their decision to go forward with electric vehicles. They've actually said now they no longer think it's a viable business model, and instead they're going to focus their attention on battery manufacturing. So this has huge implications, and anecdotally, I have a close friend in the automotive industry as well, and he said, "Oh my gosh, have you seen the press today?" And I said, "No, what's happened? It's only 7:30 in the morning." And he said, "Look, Dyson has just done this. My company has just spent 2 years competing on a certain set of trying to keep customers from going to Dyson. Now they've all moved over, and my phone is ringing off the hook this morning because my customers are wondering where they go now and how fast we can actually catch up. And what will happen, can they go back on their old contract, can they not? They feel like they've been left in the lurch." So I think it depends on if they can find a sustainable business model, how they want to approach it, and what they can actually find for their supply chain. I won't reiterate the point about where you get your steel from in the UK anymore, because that's up in the air at the moment. But I think it just depends on what happens. Do we have a hard Brexit? Do we have a soft Brexit? Do we potentially have a deal? Sorry, I am a Remainer, and I will generally be very vocal about that. I hope we find a deal, because that would make life a whole lot easier for everybody. It just depends on what happens, I think, and it'll be very newsworthy over the next 2 weeks to see where we land at the end of the month.
But what was at the end Dyson's reason? Did they quote a reason for backing out from the project?
Of Dyson?
Yeah.
Yes. The economic model wasn't working for them, meaning they didn't think they could earn enough profit to actually continue going down that path. Which is surprising, because that's when you think of new car, new technology, market demand for it, you automatically assume that the company will turn a profit. And in their position, after evaluating where they're at and their revenue projections, they didn't see that happening. And one of the comments from a few of the the commentaries in the British press was, what if this happens to a company like Tesla, who's basically created the industry in electric vehicles and pushed this forward? You know, their main IP is actually not in the car itself, but in battery power, because electric vehicles are not possible without a huge amount of battery power. What if they also decide that, in fact, the car itself is a lost leader, they're just going to focus on the battery? Where does that leave us in the industry in terms of electric vehicles? So I think it's a very shiny new technology that everybody wants to jump on, but from a manufacturing perspective, what people are willing to pay for cars and how much, in fact, those cars themselves cost are two different things, and the market hasn't quite come to equilibrium yet.
And many of the manufacturers actually have raised the question, but couldn't come to that decision to finally say, no, we won't go on.
Absolutely. It would be, up until now, it's been death by press if you questioned whether or not you should go forward with electric vehicles, because consumers just expect that you should. And if you aren't, you're not a leading edge, cutting edge, innovative brand, and that might take you out of the consideration set for a portion of your consumers.
Now, Wyhndam, Turkey has a large manufacturing base. I think every manufacturer here in Turkey is having electric cars on their map, but it's not yet a viable subject. They're focusing on other types of manufacturing. But digitalization and robotics are moving in. Where is taking traditional manufacturing markets like Turkey? How far are we on digitalization and robotics here?
We are far, I can tell you that. We are far, and we need to invest in our factories a lot, not just in digitalization, but in even like keeping the data in the company. Very basic requirements sometimes are not met. But the automotive sector is actually, I find, quite a conservative sector in Turkey. And when we want to do things, we do them very quickly. But it takes some time to convince our sector to actually come forward and do it. And I believe that here we have to have OEMs encouraging, supporting their suppliers to invest more in their industries, in their production. But there is some movement, and we have conducted a recent study with the Ministry of Technology and Industries, which we will present later today, that actually the efficiency of a production facility is much higher when it is digitalized. So the owners of businesses are coming to see the benefit of digitalization, and also they're coming forward. But it is not maybe as fast as we would like it to be. And for electrical cars, I think we really need, not just in Turkey, but everywhere in the world, we really need a switch in technology. Because while we were working on a car project, we came to discover that actually the battery is so important, and it has to be so light. And the weight is so important, and then we just don't have the technology just yet. So any companies who are just investing and researching and developing batteries and making it lighter will be helping the automotive sector enormously, because that's what the sector needs to make that shift, to make the business viable for all the major players.
I would like to return to Germany and to your company, and potentially also what other companies are doing. I'm asking a little bit for a roundabout opinion. How are German car manufacturers prepared for what the future holds? Are they any further than other ones, than France or the United States, or are they holding an equilibrium? How will Germany compete in that field?
What I've been seeing for last few years is that no one knows what to do. So everyone wants to invest in different technologies. They are not sure. Okay, shall we do autonomous? Shall I do it alone? Shall I do it with someone else? It's the same with electrification. I mean, if we look at electrification, there are different estimations. So from 5%, to 10-20% for 2025. So no one is clear. And actually, I think that's the reason that many of cost-cutting measures, are happening at this moment. But what is clear is that it's going to come, but it's not clear when exactly.
But Germany is a trend leader, trendsetter for environmental technologies. And when we look now what's going on with the climate debate and the measures that the German government has taken, brought on the way to meet the demand of their citizens, you would think that 50% of Germans are driving electrical cars, but that's not the case. There is a huge resistance. How come? What is behind that?
I mean, in Germany, having a car, first of all, is very important.
Yes. And to be able to drive it as fast as you can.
Exactly. So I love it. That's why in my last holiday I got quite a lot of fun in Spain. So what's with the society and the people is that they want to own the car, and it's difficult for them to make that change toward a different model, and also for the car manufacturers looking into that, they still look at the car as a ownership paradigm. That's how they look. So, and also the infrastructure is not still ready. So Germany of course has been very famous with Wende and renewables, but still the infrastructure and the grid stability is not there. So there are also infrastructure problems into that. It's not only the people willingness, but also the infrastructure.
Who's the leader in Europe, to your opinion, in terms of electrical cars?
In Europe, I think China and US are the lead.
So,
of course, yeah.
So who will follow them?
Europe.
Very good. Innovation plays a big role in all of your companies, moreover in the manufacturing side, but also GDM is dealing this. Now we've got this innovation in an agile way. How is GE dealing with innovation in agile or non-agile?
Generally agile. And I would say innovation comes from two places.